Hello, good morning. How are you doing today? I'm Connie Fuksa. Welcome to Coffee with Connie. I'm with Footetitlegroup, where we protect your home ownership. So I try to come to you a couple of times during the week to talk about things that have to do with your home closing. When you purchase a home, when you sell a home, when you refinance your home, things that you may see, you may hear, you may not understand, just to try to give you more information. And a lot of times I try to talk to you about things that have come to me through other sources. Maybe some questions somebody had, maybe some pieces of a puzzle they didn't understand, maybe they weren't questions, maybe they're questions somebody else had, or maybe some things that we see that are coming up, that are coming through some closings that we're actually working on. So one of the questions I get a lot is, people, when you're buying a home, you usually have to bring some money to the closing. And so people want to know what that money is. And we talked about that a little bit last week, but just to go over that piece of the puzzle again, you're borrowing money to buy a piece of property. Typically, maybe you have cash to pay for that, but in most cases, most individuals are purchasing a piece of property and they need to borrow some of the money to purchase that. And so you're borrowing money to do that. And so there are costs associated with not only purchasing the property, but some of the things that need to be done in order to purchase the property, some of the certifications, some of the costs that the lender has to do the loan, some costs that the title company has to search the property, do the closing, and to record the documents. The county charges some costs. So there's lots of different fees that are involved there, and typically your lender will disclose those to you as you're going through the process, just so that you're aware of. First, they'll do an estimate for you that's probably pretty good, that breaks down what those costs are. But then it'll be fine-tuned as the process goes along, because some of the costs are associated with the timing on when you're going to be closing. Some are associated with the value of the home. Some are associated with the type of loan you're doing. So some of those things may vary a little bit. And so they are actually fine-tuned when you get closer to closing. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is what actually happens when you have to bring money to that closing. What happens to that money? How does that all work? So I just wanted to explain to you that process a little bit so you guys can understand that, because there's so many things going on, but money is an important thing. One of the big things that we all worry about is what happens to our money. And so I just wanted to explain that for a minute so people could understand what actually happens, where that's going. And let me take a minute to say thank you so much if you're taking the time to tune in. I really appreciate your time and understand how valuable it is, particularly in the morning during the week when you're trying to get to work and get things going. So thanks for your time. Hey, Amanda, how are you? Hi, Bob. Hey, Joy, how are you? Thanks so much for tuning in. Melissa, how are you? Hope you're doing well. And, with some people that are on, they are not local to the Maryland and Virginia market, but the concepts that we talk about 99% of the time are true across the country. So if that's not going to be the case, I will always tell you if it's going to be specific to the area that we do closings in, which are in Maryland and Virginia. This particular topic is not. This is something that is true anywhere that you would do a closing in the United States. So let's talk about what happens to all the money. So when you're borrowing money, you actually, the lender actually has a loan that they're giving, and so there's some cash that is there. You may be bringing money to the closing to pay some of those costs that are not covered by the loan, or some closing help that the seller is paying. So you may need to bring some cash. Maybe the seller has a situation where they're in a situation where they owe more than they're actually going to get at the closing, so they may need to bring some money to the table. Maybe the realtor has taken a deposit from you that's larger than their commission, so they may be bringing some money to the table. So there's a lot of different areas that funding may be happening, and when I say to the table, I mean to the closing table itself. And so what happens is, one of the many jobs that we do as a title company is handle the money. Now, in some states, particularly like where Melissa is, there are two different companies. There's a title company who handles the paperwork and the transferring of the ownership, and then there's an escrow company who handles all of the money. In Maryland and Virginia and a lot of the states on the East Coast, it is all encompassed in one place. So we not only handle the title and the transferring of the ownership and all the paperwork, but we also handle the money. So what happens is the lender sends us the loan money. If the seller needs to come to closing with money, they would bring their money payable to themselves or Footetitlegroup or the whoever's doing the closing. If the buyer, you're the buyer and you have to bring some funds to the closing, you would be bringing funds to the closing. And if the realtor did as well. So all of the money comes to whoever's doing the closing, in this case, Footetitlegroup. And the money comes in, it's either wired or it's a bank check. And typically we, at this point, are only taking wires over $500 because there's been so much bank fraud and there's so much money that happens, transfers when you're talking about real estate. So there's just been lots and lots of fraud. And so most title companies are only working with wires now. But all the funds come into the title company. And then the title company, based on the worksheet that you go over at your closing, which is called a closing disclosure, the title company actually pays out all of those bills that's on that disclosure. So the money to for the loan fees, the money for the purchase price that goes to the seller, the money for the loan that's being paid off on the seller's behalf, all of those funds that are, all of those bills that are on that closing disclosure, that worksheet that explains all of the fees associated with it, both on the seller and the buyer side, the title company actually disperses and pays out all of those fees. So we take in all of the money, and then once all the paperwork is signed, then we write checks or send wires to all of those different places. So we're not only responsible for all the paperwork, but we also make sure that all the money goes to the right place. So we are the depository, if you will, that makes sure that all of those funds are paid and taken care of, and all those responsibilities are paid off. So just out here trying to give you some information when you're buying or selling something, a piece of real estate, or you're refinancing. Same thing. Again, the same kind of thing happens. It's just when you're refinancing, you're paying off your own loan and getting a new loan. So it's sort of like you're buying your house from yourself to reduce that interest rate. And so again, we take in all of those funds, including the loan funds, and then pay out all of those costs, including paying off the existing loan that you already have. So like I said, I like to try to give you different information about closings, about real estate, about mortgages that I know about. And if you ask a question and I don't know the answer, I do have lots of resources that can help me answer some of those questions for you guys. So if you have questions, please reach out and let me know. I'd love to help you answer some of those questions or find those answers for you. My goal is to provide you all kinds of information to make your closing process smooth and simple. You know, buying a house should be happy and fun and exciting, and it just shouldn't be very taxing. So the more information you can get, the easier it is to understand, and the more fun it'll be once you, between buying, going through and finding the right house and getting those keys. We want to make that as smooth and simple as possible. So hopefully I helped you understand that part of the process a little bit better today. And if there's anything I can answer for you, I'd love to do that. If you found what we're talking about interesting or helpful, please click the share button and share with those people that you know, because there's probably somebody out there that doesn't know what you just found out, and they might need that information. So hopefully I helped you guys today. Please check out our website, www.footetitlegroup.com. If you're a buyer or seller or realtor or lender, there are separate pages for each of those, and there's a resource tab that gives you all kinds of information that can help you with a lot of questions that you might come across. So hopefully I helped you a little bit today. If you have more questions, reach out to me and let me know. I love talking to you guys and answering those questions for you. Hope you have an amazing day, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon. I'm Connie Fuksa with Footetitlegroup, where we protect your home ownership. And thanks for tuning in to Coffee with Connie. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.